Welcome to Speak Free with Matty G, the podcast that celebrates free speech, truth, and open discussion. Hello and welcome to Speak Free with Matty G, episode 14. We are back for another year, 2022. I'm joined here today by a good friend of mine, Natasha Stevenson. Thanks for joining me.
No worries.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming. We wanted to do this for a while now, but now's the right time. And
it is. I think it's the 2nd of the 2nd, 2022. So definitely feeling aligned today.
Yeah. Well, that's when we're filming anyway. But
that's when we're filming it.
So we're going to talk a bit about awakening. And your experience with that.
Yeah.
And then also how that sort of relates to health and lifestyle. I guess your personal experience with each of those topics and how that can be implemented into other people's lives.
To help, other people go through the same thing, hopefully.
So we'll get started on talking about, I guess, awakening. If you can just give a rundown of, how you sort of got started into that and what you mean by that. I guess.
100%. So what I feel like I think about awakening is it's going to be different for everyone. So for me personally, I went through my awakening when I had to have a whole identity crisis, which was my skin. So exactly 2 years ago, I ended up breaking out with really badly hormonal acne. And for me, that was kind of like the end of the world. So, I've always been known as the pretty girl, and that was kind of like my identity being taken away from me. And that was where I had to start looking inwards rather than what was on the outside.
Yeah.
And more so just asking, those normal questions that no one really asks, like, what are we really doing here? And, what am I meant to be doing? What is my purpose type of thing? I just had to spend a lot of time going inwards, and that's where my journey sort of began. But a little background with me is, I haven't really had the best upbringing. Like, I know I do, seem like I'm the fun and outgoing girl, but my parents, they split when I was 18 months old. So I had the split families and pretty tough upbringing, but I do believe that it's brought me into the person that I am today. So I have always kind of been a codependent person, and I've started to realize that through my awakening with my ex-boyfriend. So all of my boyfriends have kind of been codependent on, but I've realized that was from like my mum. But I guess that's another thing that I've learnt is generational trauma. So that's another big thing that people don't, realize is that you could be holding on to something that your parents kind of went through or their grandparents, and you're not, it might not just be you. Yeah. But also with, I've gone blank.
No, that's okay. But I guess what I would say is, like, we've talked a little bit about generational trauma on here with a couple of guests we've had. And it's such an important thing, because most people don't realize they are struggling with that. They just pass it off as, that's how they are. Yeah,
literally.
And it can be passed down through, their parents or how they've been brought up, or even things they've gone through at an early age, whether it's at school or whatever it could be. It is important to work on those problems, because otherwise they never get solved, and then they just get passed down to 100%. Further generations.
And I feel like with adding to that, it's all to do with, programming and conditioning, and, the way our parents were, we're most likely destined to do the same thing unless you actually change the cycle. Yeah. And that's like the biggest thing that I've learned and had to grow through, is that the person that I was in my relationship, it wasn't me. It was just someone that I seen it all growing up, and that's why I ended up going down the same path until I decided to break the cycle for myself. Yeah. So,
And I guess that's an important point, is breaking that cycle, because, if you don't break that cycle, and most people don't, and that's the thing. Like, this is sort of a new age I guess with the internet and that, a lot of people can do their own research where they were not able to before. But this new sort of enlightenment and self-help is very new age. Like it's very this generation. Or this time period, which I think is a good thing.
100%, because I can speak for myself in the sense of like I've been able to heal myself over the last 2 years, because if we go back to my whole skin situation, like the first thing I thought when I started breaking out with hormonal acne was I need to go to the GP, I need to be prescribed medication, you know, so that way it would heal. And, you know, I did that. And when I was on this medication, like I was just moody all the time, depressed, and you know, my skin was just like burning from the inside out. And I just got to a point where I was just like, I need to accept this for what it is, and I'm going to do it naturally. And as soon as I just changed my mindset to acceptance, it all just literally started healing itself. And I obviously went down the rabbit hole of like, you know, foods and the corruption with all of that. And it's just been very eye-opening, like the journey that I've been on in the last 2 years. And I try to only eat organic now after all the research that I've done. And it's just crazy to think that any problem, issue that you have going on the inside or the outside, it all starts with your gut. That's the one thing that I've learned, is what you're putting into your body is the result that you're going to get. And unfortunately, with these big corporations and stuff, like wanting to control us, if I can say, what's a better way to control the population, control their food. And so, you know, like Coles and Woolworths and things like that, like just the foods that I started researching on and like where they come from and things like that, if people knew what was in them, or, you know, who owned these farms and stuff like that, you wouldn't be eating their food. But
and I think like, and you know, for the people listening or watching right now, and rolling their eyes, and because a lot of people are like that. I'm not saying it's nothing against you. You know, I used to be like that. But it is crazy how much is controlled by these huge corporations, by governments, by and once you start seeing corruption,
you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. It's kind of like the Matrix. It's like you're going to take the red pill, you're going to take the blue pill. And it's like, do you want to be ignorant and just forget about what you have learned? Or are you going to keep going down the path and, you know, trying to make a difference and help other people see the light as well? That's kind of like the way I've looked at it, definitely.
And most people are ignorant to it. You know, most people go,
ignorance is bliss.
It definitely is. And, you know, sometimes I wish I didn't ever start seeing, you know, the... but I'm glad I did.
Me too.
I'm glad I did, because I definitely wouldn't want to be one of these sheep with a mask and a fucking face shield on walking through the supermarket or walking outside. Actually, I saw a guy riding his bike in Richmond the other day with a face mask on, riding his bike alone. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Like... breathe in fresh air. Like fucking COVID's not just fucking flying around waiting to fucking get you.
The media and the government have done a really, really good job of instilling fear into all of us. And, you know, people literally think that they need to do that so they will not catch COVID. Like it's actually insane. Like when you think about it, it's crazy.
No, it definitely is crazy. And I think we won't touch on COVID too much. But for me personally, that was my big eye-opener.
100%.
Right from the get-go, I started posting about it on Facebook before it was really like a huge thing here. Like there was, I think, the first case or something, and there was talk of lockdowns and things like that because other countries had gone into lockdown. And I wrote, this is the biggest media beat-up of all fucking time. Like this is crazy. I didn't see it at the time what was actually going to happen, but straight away I was like, something's off about this. And then once you start researching and really looking into it, and I'm not saying every conspiracy theory out there is true. Like it's not. There's a lot of bullshit out there, and you've got to decipher through. You know, you got to be careful who you follow, and you know, and what their connections are to certain things, or if they're just in it to make money, or whatever it could be. But I think you're pretty naive if you don't think that there's not
Yeah.
more to
I think
at the least. You know?
it all comes down to intuition as well, which a lot of people they don't even know what their intuition is really. Like it's just, I feel like the mind manipulation and the control and the programming and the conditioning, like whatever you want to call it, they've done such a good job at it that people, they don't ask questions.
Yeah.
They don't ask questions. They just look at the TV and believe like whatever's coming off the TV. And like, I really do feel sorry for people that do believe that what the news is telling them is the truth.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like I spent so long last year, like, you know, being depressed and anxious and living in fear, not for the fact of I'm scared of COVID. It was like, I'm living in fear of the way things are going to go. And for a long time there, I put the weight of the world like on my shoulders, and I was like, I need to save the world and I need to wake everyone up, and all that did was keep me in a low vibration. And like, I want to touch on the chakras a little bit. Like, I don't know if people know what the chakras are, but you do have
chakra work with acting.
Love that. So you've got 7 chakras. You've actually got more in your hands and your feet, but the main ones are the 7 chakras that go like along your spine. So at the very bottom, it's your root chakra. And so with the root chakra, if that's imbalanced, it means fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, any of those things. And so the way the chakras work is you need to unblock all of them so that you can live in a higher state of consciousness, but you have to start from the bottom up. So if your root chakra is blocked and you're living in fear, anxiety, like you're depressed, shame, guilt, anything like that, then guess what? You're not going to be able to go to your sacral chakra and you're not going to be able to work on that. And then you can't work on your solar plexus and move upwards. So most people, their root chakra is blocked. And so that's why they cannot get into a higher state of consciousness. And like no better way than TV, even social media, like everyone just living in a fear-based anxiety state. How are you meant to get into a higher state of consciousness if you're always living in fear? And for me last year, I think there was probably like 3 months where I was very, very depressed. I wasn't myself. And, you know, I had all the tools and the resources of what I needed to do to get myself out of that. But it was just a very tough time for me to come to the acceptance stage again that why am I trying to save the world? I'm only one person, and this is what my best friend said to me. She's just like, you're one person, you can't save the world. What you can do is work on yourself, keep being the positive person that you are, and then you're going to help your community, and then your community will then spread it out to other people, and it's just that butterfly effect. And that's what I've kind of been doing the last 2 months, and I haven't felt better. Like, I've gone through a new cycle. I felt like I had to go back down again to come back up. And I'm feeling a lot more aligned with my life, and it's just the daily practices that I choose. And that was the other thing that I wanted to talk about is like lifestyle. You know, everyone's so fast paced, stress, you know, working their 9-to-5 jobs and, you know, what for? Like, we're not here to work a 9-to-5 job. And like, you know, make someone else money and things like that. But that's what happens when you're conditioned. You know what I mean? Like,
and it is set up like that. You know, it's set up for people to think that's normal.
Oh yeah, it's so like you're born, and then you go to school, and then you go to bigger school, and then that bigger school tells you need to go to university, and then you need to spend 80 grand on, you know, this one thing one career that you're gonna have, and then once you've studied for 6 years, then you're gonna get that job, and then you're paying all that money back, and then what? Put all your money into your super, like, and then you retire, and then you rest when you retire, that's how they want you to live. They want you to just kind of, you know, go through life. And does anyone else ever feel like, you know, the year just keeps going quicker and quicker because you're doing the same thing every day? You're driving to the same place every day, working 9 to 5, and then you're going home, have a shower, eat some dinner, go to bed. Like you do the same thing 5 days a week.
And then the weekend comes and then the weekend flies by.
Because everyone's probably, partying.
Exactly. You think, I've just worked all week, and then you just do the same shit every
I deserve that beer. Let's go to the pub, Yeah. It's pretty sad.
It's a bad rut to get in, and I've been.
And don't get me wrong, I have been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I was doing all of that. And that's part of the reason why my face broke out as well, because it was mainly stress.
Yeah.
And so I was working my 9 to 5 job. I was working 6 days a week, and, I had no time for myself really.
Yeah.
And it really just showed that, hey, something's going on in your life that you need to change.
Yeah.
And that's where I do put a lot of trust in the universe now, in the sense of following my intuition, because I ended up leaving my job, my 9 to 5 job last year in May. And, during a pandemic, like, most stupidest decision I could ever make is leaving my full-time job and working casually, because I do traffic control now. And I'm literally making more in 1 week now than what I did in a month, at my 9 to 5 job. So it was just kind of like, I see that as the universe's way of saying, like, if you put trust and faith in yourself, then we will help you out. And that's the law of attraction. Like, that's how it all works.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because I'm a big believer in that. Like, if you... obviously I understand there's different financial situations for people
100%.
And people need to stay in some shitty jobs sometimes until they find something else, but at the very core, if something is making you unhappy every single day to go there and to from 9 till 5 or whatever hours you work, you're hating your life, you got to get out of there.
100%.
You just got to get out of there. Life is just too short to do that shit. Like, and even if it's struggling a little bit, but having more free time for yourself and working on your actual passions and that, fucking do it.
That's right, because the other thing that people barely do is self-care.
Yeah.
Like, self-care is the most important thing that you can do for yourself, because it comes, once you're doing your self-care, then it comes self-love. And I genuinely believe is, if you don't genuinely love yourself, then how are you meant to have other people around you love you?
Yeah.
Like, you need to set an example for yourself. And that's the biggest thing that I learned as well is, my whole life, I never loved myself. I always was looking for the external gratification and, felt good if someone told me that I was pretty or beautiful or anything like that. But I didn't genuinely believe it myself. And it wasn't until I went through everything with my skin and I was able to heal myself, and the way I felt from doing that, I was like, there's no reason for me to not love myself. Plus having, a boyfriend who genuinely did adore the ground that I walked on, I was like, if this person really does love me, then why don't I love myself?
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I went on my journey of loving myself, and all these things that have happened to me afterwards, it's just like, yes, love. That is the answer to literally everything.
Yeah.
Is love. Self-love, loving other people, spreading love. Like, it's magical, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will touch a little bit, just relating that back to, I guess, the whole pandemic situation. One thing that I would really like to get out there and tell people, and you could agree because you were there with me, but we've attended protests for it, as we should be able to. It's a fucking free country, last time I checked.
Yeah.
And protesting's a human right. But the energy there, like compared to what's shown on the media.
Never felt anything like it.
Never felt anything like it. Hey, the greatest feeling in the fucking world.
Yeah.
Everyone there just literally spreading positivity. There was no hatred. There was...
You know what the best part about it was? Is so, like, me and my sister, we were pretty much, like, up the front.
Yeah.
And there was no better feeling than my sister tapping me on the shoulder and she said, Tash, turn around. And I turned around and I just seen, like, 50,000 people behind us.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I just felt all this energy in my heart. And I was like... Fuck, we are not alone. Like, because I was feeling alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's how.
Well,
yeah.
That's that was the biggest. Like, during that time, when I was going there, I was so nervous to go there because you never know how it's going to pan out. You know what I mean? And when you get there and you realize, you know, you see you walking towards it and other people walking on the street and they're with you and they're like-minded and they're saying the same things that you've been saying either to yourself or on social or to your friends.
It was because we were locked down for so long. We weren't around people and you thought that you were so alone.
Yeah, it did. And it creates that, you know, and they do a really good job of that, the media and the government, of making people who are, you know, think like we do feel alone. Like 100%. You're the outsiders, you're the outcast, but we're not at all.
And that, after that protest, that was when I completely just lost respect for, I'm sorry, but the police, the government and the media, because the way that they twisted and turned what happened there, when I seen everything with my own eyes, like it was insane. I seen, before we even got to the park, we were walking in a big group of people, and the mounted police, they like galloped like above in front of us, and they turned their horses around, and then they'd all tried to like trample us. Like, it was disgusting behavior for a protest where we are literally fighting for their freedoms as well. And the only other thing that's really pissed me off about the whole thing was in 2020 there was the Black Lives Matter protest. The media was lovely, great job, guys, you know, Black Lives Matter, woohoo. And then the freedom one happened, and it was just like, we're selfish, we shouldn't be given health care, and, you know, this, that, and the other. And then literally just on Australia Day, there was the one for the Aboriginal communities. And it's like, we've had more cases now than we ever have. And then even that protest was okay. So why was the freedom one made out like that? And just wanted to say, I had to delete Instagram after that protest because I had a random girl that I don't even know tell me to headbutt a knife.
Like, I had
someone
message me saying, "I'll kill your mum."
Yeah,
or I hope your mum dies or something. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, but and it was so funny to me. The biggest thing that I saw was the one major thing I took away from that day in terms of really realizing it was how powerful the media is.
Yes.
And because a few days before, I put up a photo of the sign I made and stuff, and people were like, fucking oath, go there, you know, fucking, there was no hate coming my way whatsoever. Driving home from that protest, my phone is just like, I just see my followers just drop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? People messaged me. I saw that people were sending my story to heaps of people. And things
that
like
happened to me too.
And I'm like, wow. I'm like, you people were supporting me a day ago, and now the media calls it a super spreader event and puts up a 5-second video of a fucking 3-hour event.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing about that whole super spreader thing was, it's like everyone that was at that protest wasn't going to get tested. Like, we're there because we're not going to get tested. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the way the media just like made everything
and there was
out
no
to
spike in cases after that. There was no huge spike, nothing. And then it's funny because then months later they go, the safest place to be is outside in the fresh air.
Yeah, I know.
Get outside. You can't spread COVID outside. It's like, why the fuck weren't we allowed to protest then? Like, you know, it's just, but yeah, people are just, you know,
it's just all comes down to control.
It does.
Yeah.
And I don't blame people for feeling a certain way about it. You know,
100%.
if you know, it took me a long time too. You know, I used to be, I would call myself just like a conservative. You know, that would be my. Now I think I'm more libertarian. Like, I'm just like anti-government. Like, fuck off. Like,
literally
get out of our lives.
Because that's the other rabbit hole that I've kind of gone down, and this might be a very deep for people, but it's like, why is there even a government? Like, it's been man-made for control. Like, that's all it comes down to, like, at the end of the day. Even just, like, you know, police, government, you know, prime ministers, the premiers and, like, all of that sort of thing. Yeah. They've all come from a patriarchal system, like, to control people. Yeah.
And it is. It's just a man-made construct. I mean, you know, the Indigenous before they didn't need a government, you know.
No, that's right. Any type of tribal, community.
Yeah.
All they did was, it's all about community. We grow our own vegetables, we look after each other. Hey, you don't want to hold your baby? I'll hold your baby for you, because that baby needs contact all the time. Like I've been seeing things like with, just with childcare and things like that. It's like, you are going to be the greatest teacher for your child, not somebody else. But like that's just me. That's the way I'm like looking at it. I personally wouldn't want to send my kids to school, because that's just where the programming starts.
Yeah.
What's taught in school is only what they want you to be taught. And I feel like with this awakening journey that I've gone on, I've literally had to unlearn everything that I have learned.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like once it all hits you, it's like, fuck, my whole life has been a lie, and now I need to just figure things out for myself. And I've gone into higher states of consciousness, and just following my own intuition and what feels right for me. And I've just gotten all the answers that I've needed to. It's a lot easier freaking said than done. But it's just putting faith into knowing that there is a higher power than just humans out there. And that's the other thing, is like, you're brought up to believe that, I don't know whether people are like religious or not, but it's like, heaven or hell, or, it's just, it's kind of like you can make heaven or hell on earth, and it all is in your mindset. Like if you're always thinking positive things are going to happen to you. If you're constantly thinking negative, then that's when all negative things are going to happen to you.
Yeah. And I will, you said something earlier about people just don't want to question anything. Yeah. There's a post, it went pretty viral. Like I saw it a lot. A lot of people shared it. A lot of sheep shared it. But it said something like, I don't know what's in the vaccine. I don't know what's in my food. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I'm going to leave it up to the experts. And like, that is such a bad way of looking at things. Like,
literally.
That's not a cool thing to be proud of. Like, what you just put, you know what I mean? And a few people have said to me, like, if you're anti-vaccine, like, but you fucking do coke or you do whatever.
That's the one thing that's pissed me off, is like, I will do coke on the weekend if I want to, because that is my choice. Yeah. But I shouldn't have to be forced to take a vaccine if I don't want to get it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where my whole opinion is on the whole vaccine thing. I don't care if you get vaccinated. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I do not give a fuck.
Do not give a fuck.
You do you, I'll do me.
Exactly.
But
I'm just against mandates.
That's right. And my choice shouldn't bother you at all. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you think the vaccine is going to do anything for you, then I hope that's what it is like for you. You know what I mean? But it's like, I personally don't want to get it. I don't feel like I need to get it. And so that should be my own decision. It shouldn't be forced. And just like the other thing that's really annoyed me is the fact that, they're talking a lot about hospitals being overrun because of the unvaccinated. Yep. But then you look at the statistics on the government website, and there are more people that are in hospital that are fully vaccinated. Well, it's not even called fully vaccinated anymore because of the boosters now.
It's at least 2 doses.
At least 2 doses. More than the unvaccinated. Yeah. So it's just like, then again, the media is literally lying to people about what's going on, but people don't question. Yeah. They don't question. They think because it's coming off this big screen TV that everything, like, why would they lie to us for? The
why would Channel 7 lie?
Why would they lie to us? Like, the government is helping us out and, you know, all that sort of thing. And it's just, it comes down to questioning. Yeah. And then when you do question, that's why a lot of people are getting silence. Like, you know, people are saying, leave it up to the doctors and the experts and this and that. But, like, they're literally getting paid to either tell you one thing, or it's like the ones that are speaking up about what's actually going on, they're getting silenced. Yeah.
And the one thing people really need to realise is think of Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10. You know, we won't really talk about the ABC because it's government funded, but in terms of all these media organisations, you can turn on your TV and you watch it for free. How do you think they're making money? Advertisements. And obviously, if someone's paying a lot of money for fucking ads, they're going to start spinning that story for that person. You know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, Big Tobacco pays a fucking fortune for an ad
McDonald's,
and then,
KFC, like, and it's like, are any of these things good for you?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, right? Like, this is the one thing that really annoys me, because I've gone down on my health journey. Like, I had to go through all the shit with my skin to realize that what the fuck they're putting in our foods is literally killing us, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the big thing for me that boils my blood, is the fact that, like, you know, if they really cared about us, if they really cared about, you know, helping us out with COVID because it's so deadly and this, that, and the other, why the fuck haven't they told us to go out and get some vitamin D? Why haven't they told us to do meditations daily? Why haven't they told us to do, you know, yoga or eat organic foods, vegetables, you know, like fruits, things like that? But all they have said is that you need to get the vaccine. That's it.
Yeah.
And then on the TV, it's like McDonald's, KFC, Hungry Jack's.
Yeah.
And it's like, that shit is fucking killing you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is what's getting shown on TV. It's not showing you a farm with like all vegetables growing and being like, you should eat carrots. Like, it's just, it's so corrupt.
Yeah.
So corrupt.
And these huge corporations that are creating these vaccines, Pfizer or AstraZeneca or whoever the fuck, they are paying money to media organizations all around the world to write stories saying, you know, like fucking Omicron and surging cases and we need your booster, and like there's no evidence of any of this shit. Like there's just like, I mean, there's obviously evidence for some of it, but in terms of like, you know, people going, oh, well, you know, if you're unvaccinated, you're way more likely to end up in hospital. But it's like, well, no, we're looking at it. Look at it now.
I know. And like, I'm a living, breathing example of 2 years ago, started eating good foods for me. I literally haven't eaten McDonald's in like over 3 years. I eat nearly organic, like I hardly eat any meat, and I am not vaccinated. I have not gotten COVID at all yet. I have been around people with COVID. I've literally had people spit in my mouth, like to the point where I'm like, come on, let's see if I can get COVID. Yeah. And I haven't gotten it. And everyone around me that's vaccinated, they were bedridden for like days on end.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do I need to get vaccinated? Yeah. Like, it's just, Yeah.
And these booster shots are making people fucking very sick. I mean, very sick. And not saying they're I'm not going to go as far as saying they're killing people. I mean, that definitely killed a lot of people. But I mean, just in general terms of the effect of it, that people have now in their minds think is just normal. Oh yeah, I was in bed for 2 days, like I was throwing up.
But luckily I had the vaccine, because it could have been so much worse. I could have died from COVID.
But I mean from the vaccine itself, like they think that's a normal reaction to getting a jab. It's like, that's not fucking normal, man. No. That's not normal. Maybe a red arm and a bit of soreness around the arm. That's a normal reaction to getting any injection, right? An injection. And I'm not against all medicine. I think some medicine does help.
Oh, yeah. Some modern medicine can really help, but a lot of it is there just for money. Like, it's money and power.
And, and if you look at, you know, Pfizer, for instance, their track record, it's fucking disgraceful. It's so bad. But people choose to ignore it, you know. You know, you can do a quick Google search of how much Pfizer's been sued, right, and see the reasons why they've been sued, and it's for hiding, you know, or falsifying reports, and shit like that, like shit that should not fucking happen,
literally,
with a medical organization, you know, big pharma.
If you look at the big pharma as a whole, it's like I was saying before, you go to the doctor, you literally speak to them for 10 minutes about what you're going through. Here's a script. Here's a script. It's like, it's not getting to the root cause of anything. You're just putting a Band-Aid over it. Yeah. And that's why, like, I choose now that, you know, anything that I'm kind of going through, I do it all naturally. And people that do things naturally now are looked at as if they are insane. Yeah. But it's like putting a prescription medication into your body to mask your headache or, you know, your back pain or whatever it is, like, that is actually insane. Yeah. It's like, but the way that it's all like made out like it's normal, it's just crazy.
And people who do natural medicine are the crazy ones. It's like,
literally, like, you're a witch. I feel like I'm going through a past life again.
It is. It's like the new age. It's like the new age, like witch.
The
witchcraft.
people
Yeah.
Literally.
Like, oh, I drink herbal tea and fucking and meditate. Oh, you're a fuckwit. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what?
Literally.
Oh, it's crazy. And I think there are, you know, a lot of good things out there now that are shining a light to it, you know.
Yeah.
A good thing is like Seaspiracy. Great doco on Netflix.
Yes.
Did make me go vegan for a bit. I'm not vegan anymore. Struggled with it a bit.
But see, that's the other thing I want to touch on as well is every single person on this planet is different.
Yeah.
No one is the same. So when you're going to the doctors and they're prescribing you this medication, guess what? You and a million other people are getting the exact same thing, but you are all different. So that's why, like, you really need to invest into your own health, because at the end of the day, no one cares about you more than you care about yourself, and other people are just making money off it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, yeah, maybe try going vegan for 2 weeks. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, try going carnivore for 2 weeks. That's not going to work either. Like, you need to find the niche that works for you in particular, because all these diets that, you know, are shown all over social media and things like that, it's like, it's not the one size fits all category.
Yeah.
Like how Big Pharma tried to make it.
Well, they do.
Yeah. It's like you just need to find what ends up working for you. And what I found for me is me eating less meat, I feel a lot lighter and I'm not as lethargic. I don't have as much brain fog and everything like that. Also, the other thing was actually me getting off the pill. That was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Literally within a week, I was like a completely different person. And I was on the pill for 10 years. So that's 10 years over, you know, going through puberty of me thinking that I was a certain person when really that was just the medication that I was on.
Yeah.
And now I'm still struggling to, you know, try and get my period back and everything, because for 10 years I was getting a fake one. And so my body is just trying to like work itself out and things like that. But it's like I was 14 when I got prescribed to get put on the pill.
Yeah.
And it's like it hurts me that doctors are just so easily prescribing this out to, you know, children.
Yeah.
Because you are a kid and it's fucking with your hormones at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then that goes for a lot of things too, you know, like if a kid has ADHD, it's, you know, Ritalin or dexamphetamines or whatever you know, and it's take that every fucking day. It's like, what? Like, they're just a loud kid. Like,
yeah, literally.
You know? And I'm not saying ADHD isn't a thing. Like, it is a thing. And if you need medication to help you focus, if it works for you, that's fine. But I just don't think it should be like you said, a one size fits all fucking, you know, approach to, you know, each problem. I mean, there was a video I saw recently on Facebook, and it was a woman talking about, I don't know if you follow her or not. She's, sort of like a mummy blogger, like health food.
I don't have Facebook.
Oh, well, she's probably on Instagram and shit too, but yeah. But her son had really bad psoriasis.
Yeah.
And she kept going to the doctor about it and kept prescribing different things. And she's like, I think it's food. Like, I think it's food. And they're like, there is no connection to food whatsoever for psoriasis. She cut out dairy out of her son's diet within like 2 weeks, totally cleared up.
Yeah.
And she went back and...
It's all about food, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
What we are putting into our bodies, like I said before, is literally the result that you're going to get. So, like, even, like, fasting and things like that, that is, like, really beneficial for us, because we're not actually meant to be eating, like, 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it should just really be twice a day. But because there's food options around us all the time, it's like we never really go hungry.
Yeah.
Like, we're very blessed in that sense. Whereas, like, you know, if you look at generations, like my grandmother and her sister, they had to walk miles and miles and miles to, you know, go and find their food and like bring it back to the family. So I actually struggled last year with overeating too much, because I'm like, what I was making, I felt like I had to finish every single thing on my plate, because, you know, that's kind of been passed on to me as if, you know, I'm not going to get food again. But really, like, my cupboard is full. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's another thing that I've kind of had to learn is not only just about the foods, but how I'm eating it. And then the other thing, like when you were saying about ADHD, it all comes down to metals. So like humans, we're not really meant to have metals in our body. I know I'm saying that with like a nose piercing, but we're not really meant to have like metals in our body. And like the main thing is like our water. There's so many like chemicals and heavy metals that are in our water. And, you know, you can have a water filter and drink from a water filter, but guess what? You are showering in it still. You're bathing in it still. Like our skin is the largest organ in our body. And as soon as we get under that water, it is soaking all of that up, which then causes us to get ADHD and, you know, all these other conditions because it's all coming from heavy metals. Even just like cooking with the pan at home, eating with, you know, these metal utensils. It's like
microwave and shit.
Microwaves, like it's a lot of things that are just not good for you, but we don't question it. We don't question it because it's like everyone's got one. Even the TV, like everyone's got one. You look like you're a weirdo if you don't have a TV. But really, it's just brainwashing you.
And it is. Like, I mean, I'm not against people finding entertainment on Netflix or whatever.
Trust me, I watch all the movies as well. I actually have fun watching movies now that I am quote unquote awake, because I'll watch a movie and I will start laughing because I'm just like, I'll watch it with someone who I know isn't like awakened, and I'm just like, are you not getting what's the message behind this movie? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, wow, like it's crazy. Like, even I only just watched The Matrix the first time the other day.
Oh really?
And I was just like, people that have seen this 20 years ago, like, it's crazy that I don't know what's going on. But every other movie, I feel like, you know, with actors and actresses, like, they're only here to control us too. It's like, you know, you've got the elite that control them. And then we are controlled by the celebrities because we watch them on TV. And then if they brought out a skincare line, I need to get that skincare line. It's all about, like, control.
And I mean, Hollywood is, it's definitely, if you haven't gone down that rabbit hole, I mean, you won't get back out. You won't get back out. It's fucking crazy.
You can hardly find anything on it anymore.
Well, I know. A lot of things have disappeared.
That's it.
I mean, Google is the ultimate controller of
100%. Because what do you do when you don't know something? You Google it.
Exactly. If I want to find anything like off key, a bit off center, I use DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo, Telegram's really good for information as well.
Telegram's great. I'm on that. There's heaps of, especially during like COVID time, Telegram was fucking blowing up.
It really was.
It was good. But I mean, that's another thing I guess we'll touch on now is the censorship that we've seen. And I mean, that should be like, that should ring alarm bells in people's heads. You know, the fact that you can't have an opinion. I mean, we just saw Novak Djokovic get kicked out of the country, not because his visa wasn't correct. I mean, it went through the courts. It got denied originally. Then went through the courts. They said he did everything right. And the reason they then denied him was because, he has anti-vax sentiments that he might spread to the people, like his thoughts.
Oh my God.
And it's like, so what? We're not going to allow anyone into the country now that have a different opinion to what the government want you to think. Like,
literally.
That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. But everyone's like, because they're so fucking brainwashed by the media, fucking constantly reporting on it, they're like, fuck him off. Fuck Djokovic, you know, we don't need him. And it's like, why? Like, he's done fucking nothing wrong. Like, having a different opinion does not equal being a fucking evil cunt. Like,
I know.
You know?
It's crazy. Yeah.
And also, unvaccinated does not equal fucking infectious.
No.
Which is what people think. You know? People really
and I
do
can
believe
say I do have a few friends that are unvaccinated that are literally overseas right now. Like, there's, if you do your research, like, it's just like the media, it just like, you know, if you're not vaccinated, you're not going to be able to go travel and all that sort of thing. And I fucking feel for a lot of people that literally only got the vaccine because they're like, I want to live my life and I want to, you know, go overseas and things like that. And I'm proud of myself because I'm just like, fuck that shit. Like, I would rather be fucking homeless than, you know, having to, you know, get the jab. That was just my personal opinion. And now knowing that people can actually go overseas and things like that, it's just like, it's really sad what's happening. And
that's the reality of it. Obviously people change their opinion once they pick a side,
Yeah.
I guess. Once they get vaxxed, they go, oh, fucking just get vaxxed, But before it, the only reason they wanted it was because they could go to the pub, or because they could go party with friends, or because they could travel interstate, or whatever it may be. If there was no restrictions placed upon people who were not vaccinated, it would be nowhere near 94% fully.
I don't even reckon it is that much, to be honest. I reckon they're just lying about those statistics.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that I know that aren't vaccinated, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can't trust anything that's put out by the fucking government.
No, I don't.
You can't. Yeah, you can't trust anything. Is there anything else you really wanted to cover in terms of?
So pretty much just like to kind of like if anyone is interested in, working on themselves type of thing, just I wanted to touch on a few things that obviously worked for me. So the main thing was journaling. Journal everything down, because you can read back over it and you can see how far you have come. Even gratitude's probably the most important thing that was for me, going through like my healing process. Even if you're just feeling shit, just write down a few things that you're grateful for. Tell yourself that you love yourself and a few things that you do love about yourself. And affirmations are literally going to help you manifest the life that you want. And just, believing in yourself. Other things that I found really worked for me, which I have been lazy on, is meditation. Once you start and you get in a really good rhythm of it, it's like the best thing that you can experience. And then if you slack off, then you're literally going to have to start from scratch again, which is what has happened to me. But yeah, it just takes time, quieting the mind, not thinking about the past, the future, just really trying to be present. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I've noticed too, is me making a conscious effort to be present. I don't really know what day it is anymore. I don't even really know what the date is sometimes, because I'm kind of like, when you're present, time is irrelevant. Yeah. Like, I'm not thinking of the past, I'm not thinking of the future. And yeah, like it's crazy how much I'm remembering things more. Like, I remember like when I wasn't being present, it was just like, one day turned into like, already being the next following week. And I'm just like, fuck, where did that time go?
Yeah, because you're constantly thinking about what's coming next.
Yeah, literally. Always on the go. So remaining present is like very, very important. And just like when you're present in the moment, when you're like speaking to someone, it's like, you actually do learn a lot about their mannerisms and things like that as well. Like, you're not just, we could be talking to each other right now, but you might just be thinking of something else and it's just going through one ear and out the other. Yeah. But yeah, remaining present is like very, very important. Also cold therapy and breath work. Bloody life-changing. Like, I go for a swim every single day. I know not everyone lives near the beach and can do that, but yeah, even if you just have like a cold shower in the morning, like cold therapy, and then that will help like with breath work as well. If you can control your breath, then you can pretty much control literally anything. And that's the other thing. It's like, when women are in labor, what do they tell them to do? Like, control your breathing. And yeah, I have found that with any problems or issues that I'm going through, if I just take some deep breaths, then I can really work through it. Yeah. So yeah, those are like the main things that I have found that have worked for me. But other messages really is just try not to be ignorant. Try not to be ignorant. Yeah. And the ego. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about, actually. So when it comes to... So when we have been programmed and conditioned and things like that, there's this ego identity that is built up around us. So for me, I've been doing a lot of work in releasing that ego identity. So the ego identity that was brought up on me was... I hit puberty at a very young age, so I always had boobs and, like I always had like a lot of male attention and things like that. And I didn't even know who I was, but I was considered something, and then I felt like I had to live up to that expectation.
Yeah.
So, from the age of 13, 14, going out and, going to parties and getting all this male attention and, living on the high horse and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I did love it, but I'm nearly 24 now and I look back at it and I'm like, fuck. Like, I wish I didn't get all that attention because I was a kid, you know what I mean? And I feel like I never really took too much time to study at school because I didn't really know what I was interested in either. But it was like all I could think about was boys or, if any guy that gave me attention, it was just like I was all for it.
Yeah.
But that was like that ego. It was feeding my ego. And quite recently I have realized that actually me deleting social media is what caused me to be like, why the fuck do we even have social media for? Like, it can be great for your business and all that sort of thing, but really we only have it for external gratification and you liking my photo and telling me how pretty I am.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing the work on yourself and realizing I don't need you to tell me that. Like, I already know that myself without like being up myself. It's just like, people think it's selfish to love themselves when really it's like the best thing that you can really do. And so, getting rid of the ego identity has been like very rewarding for me because I'm like, I don't care about that Louis bag anymore. I don't care about, getting fake tits and, all of that sort of thing to make me look a certain way. Like, I chose this body. I'm going to love this body because at the end of the day, it's really just my own vessel that is taking me through this journey in this lifetime. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I did want to also just bring up a quote that I saw, and it relates to the awakening stuff, and not just with COVID, but with the whole everything, and being, just awake to really what's going on. And it was a guy who used to work for the CIA, and he actually said they call it, like within the CIA, they called it. I could get this wrong, but it was like a mind boundary.
Yeah.
And most people don't cross that, and they're considered the normal ones, right? And the people who cross that and start, thinking of like conspiracy theories or just start seeing corruption and all that stuff, they've crossed that boundary. But once you cross it, you literally cannot go back.
Yeah.
You can't go back. So I think that's an interesting thing. And if anyone... a lot of people who watch this obviously are like-minded.
That's true.
But yeah, once you go down a few rabbit holes, you fucking...
The best one to follow on Instagram is called The Conscious Awakening. Do you follow that?
I do, yes. Yeah.
That's where all the magic has kind of like shone through.
Yeah.
And they've got videos. They really put in a lot of effort to tell people and tell the world what is going on. So yeah, they've been a massive awakening for me. And then even just listening to podcasts, instead of watching the TV, put a podcast on.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that was really funny as well. I've lost my license quite a number of times. It's quite embarrassing. But each time, now I have realized that each time I've lost my license was because there was something going wrong in my world that I needed to change. And I now see that as a sign as something's going wrong. So, for example, the first time that I lost my license, I needed to, I think I was working my 9-to-5 job and I just needed a lifestyle change. And because I had to travel so far to and from work, I was traveling an hour on the train. And so instead of just listening to music, I was listening to podcasts, and that's when it all started having these light bulb moments. And I was just okay. So it was a good thing that I lost my license because I was using my time wisely.
Yeah.
And then the second time that I lost it was I still hadn't left my job yet. And it was as soon as I lost it, I was okay, now what do I have to do? And then that's when I started thinking, okay, what are you interested in? What do you actually like doing? And trying to figure out what I like and what my purpose is. And that's kind of how I've gone on this journey of left my job, moved to Bondi, like, and I've just been on this journey ever since. And like, you know, I broke up with my boyfriend of 4 years, which I really didn't want to do. Like, I loved him so much, but at the end of the day, it was like my emotions were getting put on hold for his, and I had to be selfish and I had to choose myself.
Yeah.
And then all the people that I've met, like, since then, it's like the universe is like, you know, we've closed that door for a reason and now we're opening this other one. And I'm very grateful to everyone that I've met since then. And I wouldn't have met them if I had have stayed where I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, like, get out of your comfort zone, do the things where, you know, you're actually going to grow, because if you're just comfortable, you're just going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a lovely point to end on.
Yeah, 100%.
If you agree. But yeah, well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having
me. Yeah, I hope it's been as eye-opening to everyone else as it has been to me. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Come in again anytime.
We'll do.
I'm sure we've got more to talk about.
Definitely have more to talk about.
And remember, guys, speak free with Matty G.